All right, welcome to the last rewind with me, Big Red and Tramaine. And today we're going to hit up the NBA playoffs, talk about what's been happening so far in the first round of the playoff. And as of now, as the show is being recorded, every series is over except there's one more game, game 7 between the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. And we'll get to them too and make our predictions, and hopefully once this comes out, our predictions end up being right about who we want to win. And then we'll also talk about again, some of the first round series has all already happened and what we expect to happen in the second round. First off, though, let's hit off this one first, because this one recently ended. The Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat, who I was wrong on this one, I'll say. I thought that the Bucks were probably going to beat them. I said a gentleman's sweep, 4-1. And to my shock, the Bucks got beat 4-2. It's a shock to me. I still can't believe it. Jimmy Butler has proven time and time again his regular season does not match his playoff season. He turns into a whole nother beast. Man had 56 points one game, and I think 42 in game 6, which I thought he was going to be out of gas. I didn't think he was going to come like that in game 6, but he put him away. What are your thoughts on it, man? Did you expect this to happen? Did you expect the Heat to beat the Bucks?
No, absolutely not. I think any sane basketball watching person did not expect that. I mean, the Bucks are the far better team. They just weren't better in the playoffs. I mean, you can be better you can be the best team at the wrong time of the year, and the Bucks were the better team in the regular season, but in the playoffs, no. I did expect the performance from Jimmy Butler, although I didn't think that his performance would be enough to for them to win the series. I thought it would be a clean sweep. Bucks and 4, I picked. I thought it would be a clean sweep, and shockingly, I was wrong. I will say this though: Jimmy Butler has been known to run out of steam as the playoffs goes deeper. He can't do that every night going forward.
Yeah. He has no help.
He has no help. You're right.
Yeah. This makes this more remarkable that he keeps doing things like this. He turns into a Jordan-esque player in the playoffs, but he has no help. Every year, they look like a pretty decent team. Have Tyler Hero, Adebayo being able to help in the background, but they aren't complementary pieces as number 2s to me anyway, to him to make a long playoff run. Of course, they did go to the finals in the bubble. I don't know if you count that or not. Some people call it a Mickey Mouse ring or Disney ring or whatever.
Hardcore LeBron fans count it.
Right. and he played his heart out. I mean, his heart out. And it was very inspiring. I love going back to even watch that game where he was exhausted at the end of, I think it was game 3 or 4 in the finals. But he did everything he could, but he didn't have enough firepower. He needed more help from everyone else. And this is the thing every year. He doesn't have enough help. And it's probably, we'll get that in a minute, they're going to play the Knicks in the second round. That's probably what's going to end up happening. I do think they can beat the Knicks, but a long playoff run to the finals, I don't know about that.
They'll beat the Knicks. Yes, they'll beat the Knicks. Again, Jimmy Butler is going to have a damn near heroic. I'm not going to say a heroic game every game. I would like to believe anyway, he would be able to take it easy, maybe 1 or 2 games against the Knicks. But going forward, the performance he gave in round 1, it's going to be needed, and it's going to be needed and to be on repeat. And as far as him being tired and then injuries, I believe he was injured. He was injured too. And in that bubble, in the bubble playoffs, he got injured too as well. So, like you said, he has no help. He has he has a decent supporting cast enough to get him to the playoffs. I don't think he has a supporting cast enough to do damage in the playoffs.
Right.
I don't think he has that. He has a good supporting cast to get him there. He needs someone to help him when they're there. And I mean, like you said, he gave it all. He gives it all. He gives his all. I'm happy that they're still in. So I get to watch him play a couple more games.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. But it's gonna take a lot on his end to go further. And with that being said, I do see them beating the Knicks. After the Knicks, that's up in the air as of right now. The time will tell with that. Mm-hmm.
I see them also beating the Knicks. I would say 4-2. I don't know. I guess depends on who they play next after that. I could see them actually beating the Sixers if they play. I can see that. Not sure it will happen, but I could see it happening. And whoever they play in the finals, that's a different story. But Eric Spoelstra is an excellent coach. Mm-hmm. Maybe the best coach in the NBA. And that just went to Sacramento Kings coach this year, won coach of the year. But Eric Spoelstra is, I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody that may be on his level or better than him. But to me, he feels like he's the best.
To me right now, he feels like he has the most. I guess tenure with a team. Yes, that's a good word for it. Tenure with a team. You know, he was with the Heat. You know,
yeah,
with LeBron and the Big Three. So I would definitely say he has the most tenure with the team. With his team of the remaining. Well, Steve Kerr's up there too with the Warriors of the team of the teams that's remaining in the playoffs. So yeah. I believe that helps that case. And I mean, him and Jimmy Butler obviously got a good working relationship, but
that wasn't that long. It was last year or was it this year? He was trying to punch him in the middle of a huddle. Remember, Udonis Haslem had to get in between.
I do remember that. I do remember that. I mean,
maybe that made their relationship stronger because of that. You know, because friends fight, and you know, most of the time you don't fight with your colleague though. You know, you're supposed to fight at work.
On the basketball, you know what I mean? Right. On the basketball court, hitting his coach. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't go to work and you know threaten to beat up my CEO.
Right.
Thinking I'm gonna come back to work the next day.
Man, this is man. I just didn't like that play you called, man. We cool, all right? Yeah, okay. Still gonna get paid, right?
Yeah, it's your last paycheck, but yeah.
That's your last paycheck.
But with the Heat, I'm very happy they're still in. In fact, although on paper and in my heart, and if I had to put money on it, I would say the Bucks was going to win. But now that the series is over and done, I'm happier that they didn't win because I want to see the Heat keep going now.
Is that your Cinderella pick for the playoffs?
It's shaping up to be that, yeah.
I can kind of say that probably. Once I guess we go through the rest of them, I'll probably say that. But okay. Yeah. So what was your prediction for the Knicks though? Like number wise, like 4-1, 4-2 sweep, 7-game series. I'm 4-2 for the Heat.
I was in the for you said for the Heat or the Knicks?
With the Heat and the Knicks, who you pick?
Yeah.
How far will it go?
I was, as far as the Knicks, I was 4-2 as well. Because you know, they are first and foremost, the Knicks for years have been just
the laughing stock.
Atrocious. You know, I saw the video and Stephen A. Stephen A. usually only made videos when he trolling Cowboys, but then he made a celebratory video for the Knicks. I'm like, okay, he got something else in his arsenal here. But for years they've been horrible. But they're good now. Let me say better. They're better now. But I did pick 4-2 for the Knicks. I did see it 4-2. So hopefully, you know, we'll see what they do in the next round. But I did say 4-2.
Okay. Let's go with the next team that was in the playoffs, the 2-8 seed Boston and Atlanta. Of course, now I picked Boston to win this. Again, I gave it a gentleman's sweep. Thought Trae Young was going to have one of those trademark big games, which he did have in the series. Uh, End up going to 6 games. Surprisingly, they beat Boston on the road in game 5, carried it to game 6. They all, I don't want to say almost, it was close. It was close. Game 6, it was close. And then Boston just kind of blew it out towards the end. But I was surprised it even went that far because I just figured Boston was far more superior and they were going to have the people to be able to shut down Trae Young because they got tall defenders, tall guards on Boston. So I was kind of surprised. It did go 6 games, but I guarantee you this now. All those rumors I was hearing before the playoffs started, where people were talking about trading Trae Young. I bet you they're rethinking that now.
Oh, absolutely. He's the Hawks organization itself. He is the Hawks organization. As far as they were thinking about trading him, that is I will guarantee they're rethinking it now because he obviously proved that that's where he belongs as far as in the Atlanta realm is Atlanta Hawk basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So I would hope they don't trade him because if they do, that's stupid on their part.
Atlanta hasn't had much success in the basketball field. I mean, as far as championships is concerned, and they've had years where you never really believed they were going to win anything, besides the second round. Even when Dominique was there, at their height, you never quite believed they were going to go to the finals. They were good enough to make a second round, maybe inch their way into the Eastern Conference finals. Maybe somebody would have got hurt, and anything can happen. Trae Young has carried them to the Eastern Conference finals once. I don't even think Dominique ever went to the Eastern Conference finals. To my recollection, I don't think he got past the second round ever.
Yeah, he didn't. If I recall, I mean that's back in the day up against a different level of NBA. The Atlanta always to me was a how can I put it? They were like a very show style team. Like they were kind of like the Lakers, but without the championship pedigree. Lakers was very show, but they also had a championship pedigree. Atlanta was very show without the championship pedigree. Atlanta, it was ATL, so it was very popping in the I guess you could say the 90s, early 2000s, and the basketball team reflected the city. If you ask me, I mean, Mookie Blaylock.
Oh yeah, Kevin Willis. And them big elbows.
They did beat. Didn't they beat? No, Jordan beat them when he came back. I was remember when
they beat him in a regular season game. He didn't play.
Yeah, it wasn't the playoffs. I remember that. Yeah, because I believe one of his return games when Jordan came back was against Atlanta, and it was a big deal.
Over Steve Smith.
Steve Smith.
Yeah. He beat them in the 98 playoffs, and that's where he got the final dunk before he retired.
Okay, yes, when he waved the finger and the Kimbe. Dang, man, I really got to sit back and remember the Kimbe being on Atlanta. But that's when Jordan dunked on him and he finally climbed the mountain.
Yeah. Jordan, he had to wait to the end of his career to get Mount Batumbo.
He still did it, dude. But he got a tech.
He's not going to do a Geico commercial. No.
Jordan got a tech though.
People would forget. Jordan still got a tech back then.
Techs, you know what's funny? Techs then and now seem to be like non-existent back then. Although they existed,
Yeah.
they didn't exist as much as they do now. Lord Jesus, flagrants as well, flagrant fouls as well.
Oh, definitely flagrants. Techs got worse over time. That matter of fact, that year, that's a good point you're bringing up. That year, it seemed like that's when taunting started to turn into a techable offense, if that's a word. Because people got dunked on all the time. Remember, Sean Kemp was dunking taunt on people all the time. I remember there was a time, and I'm guessing they must have changed the rule. There was a time you couldn't hang on the rim for too long, like 3 seconds, and they will call a tech on you. I guess they finally took that rule back because they thought it was ridiculous. But I remember too, Mutombo, I think during the start of his career in Atlanta, when he was doing the blocks and he was doing the no, they started giving him techs. Mm-hmm. And they told him, and you can see that on people's dunks now, they told him, if you're going to do the finger wagging, you got to face the crowd. And that's the same thing with dunks nowadays. Yeah, that's about when it started. And now when people get dunked on, you got to like look away so you don't offend the person when you want to scream and stuff, because dude on the Brooklyn Nets that dunked on Embiid, they got a tech and got ejected. Remember, he dunked on him and he looked at him and stuff like, he got kicked out because it was called.
You remember back, I think a couple years ago when LeBron dunked on Jason Terry?
Yeah. Oh,
he got a tech for that. He stared him down.
Man, he stared him down and walked over him too. So that was definitely a techable offense.
It was like, that was one of my favorite LeBron moments. I was watching that game. I was like, that's one of my favorite LeBron moments because LeBron, he nonchalantly did it. Man. But he knew he had to know he was getting a tech though.
I think he didn't care. I think he was like, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I think Jordan knew it too. Jordan like, it's worth it. People gonna remember that. Nobody's gonna care about that. The other team shot a free throw. And we won that game too. Yeah, that was nasty on Jason Terry. His whole body went down. It was like he was a jet. He was trying to take off and he didn't quite make it.
That was bad. That's probably my favorite dunk of LeBron's now that I think about it.
I would that, or maybe that one he did on Kevin Garnett. And Kevin Harlan's commentary in the background. LeBron James with no regard for human life.
He said that for a lot of people.
Okay, so who would I say? Okay, so Boston ended up winning in 6 games, and up next, well, I'll get to it eventually, but up next, they ended up playing the 76ers. I'm going to go ahead and predict this. Boston is going to win that one. I'll say in 6 games, 4-2, mainly because what is the thing they probably tell you at your job and probably any other job? The best ability is availability. And Embiid sounds like he may not be available for the first couple games. And then has Doc Rivers, Embiid, he doesn't look like he's going to be here. He's going to be at 50% at best. We got to play with our players.
I can't hear you, Doc. How can you coach me? I can't hear you, Doc.
Just do what you can.
What's the play, Doc? What's the play, Doc?
Throw it to Embiid. Just do what you can. Yeah, but it seems like Embiid he's going to be wearing a knee brace to start off with. Let me just say something before we get with predictions. I know I already said 4-2, but Embiid he's got to stop falling after every and one, or after every layup, or every dunk. He's got to stop falling.
Yeah.
This is why he's getting injured.
After every, just about, you say after every dunk or and one.
What are you falling for?
Every time he has contact, any kind of contact, he's flopping like it's the end of the world. So I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah. It's like a running back that towards contact. It's eventually going to take his toll on you.
Yeah. Yes. to your point of the availability of Embiid, uh, you said 4-2. Oh man, I'm gonna go for it too as well. Boston is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Boston is going to win. Although I say 4-2, I wouldn't be too surprised if Sixers pull out another game. But for the sake of making a prediction and wanting to be as right as possible,
Right.
I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna say 4-2 as well.
Okay. All right. What are your? Do you think it's because Embiid is not playing enough? What are your other reasons why you think the 76ers will go down in 6 games?
Well, it's simple. He's Embiid isn't playing enough, and even when he does, and even if he is playing, he doesn't come off as healthy enough. Because here's the thing: we're getting to the point of the playoffs where they're going to play through injuries now. They're going to play through pain, and they're gonna play through injuries, at least attempt to. And although Embiid is not healthy enough, I believe he's still going to attempt to play, and that's going to be detrimental. That's going to be detrimental for the team because even with him playing through the injury, he's not going to be 100%. Now I know most who are playing through injury aren't going to be 100%, but him not being at 100% is it's likely to cost more than others, for other teams. Him not being at 100% is vital.
Right.
For the 76ers. Like, they need him, not even at 100, at least 85.
No faith in James Harden?
What's that?
No faith in James Harden, huh?
As a now native Houston, as a now native Houstonian living in Houston, and have gone through the James Harden years in Houston, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Get you to the playoffs, put up an egg. Nothing's changed. Good, great NBA, great regular season player. Get you to the playoffs. May get you one highlight or two. I remember a couple years ago he got that block that sent them to the second round. Forget who it was against.
Ginobili? Well, no, I'm thinking where Ginobili blocked him. So there.
No. Harden got a really key block, and I even forget the team, but I know it was Harden, and I know I won money off that series, but I forget the team. But same James Harden, different year, different team. Same James Harden, different year, different team. He'll get you a couple of I say same. This is an older James Harden, different year, different team, couple more injuries. But he'll get you there. He will contribute to get you there. I'll give James Harden that, but no.
He's also now more of a pass first player than he was in Houston.
He's scared.
Yeah,
he's scared. I'm gonna put it that way. He was the man in Houston.
Yeah,
and now I don't think he wants to be the man anymore. So he's gonna pass the ball, and he don't want the blame because when they lose, and they will, he don't want the blame. But here's the deal: he is one of the stars of the team. So regardless if he wants it or not, he's gonna get some of it. And no, am I going back to answer your question? No faith in James Harden in the playoffs.
Well, there you have it. All right, 4-2 from both of us. All right, let's see what we got. Who's next? Let's see. It was Brooklyn. Oh, it was Brooklyn, Philly. That was their first round series.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Philly already moved on. Let's see. Was that a sweep? Can't remember how did that series go. It was. How did the series go? I don't even have. I'm trying to look for the stats in front of what it go. I think that was a sweep.
I believe you're right.
That might have been the only sweep of the playoffs.
Hmm.
I'm surprised I can't even find that quick. That should have pulled up immediately. Where? Sixers. I should have had that automatically put up there. Sixers beat the Nets. Yeah, it was a sweep. Yeah, 4-0. That was the only sweep of the playoffs, which, again, that's kind of surprising. All of these playoff games have been competitive almost.
With the exception of that crap last night with the Lakers in Memphis.
Oh, yeah, well, we'll get to that eventually. And that's a lot of disappointment that's going to come from me with that one. I also messed up another one of my predictions. But yeah, that was a hand defeat. The Nets shouldn't even got there. The Nets wouldn't have got there if they didn't have the bulk of the wins from Kevin Durant, Irvin when he was there.
Yeah.
That they got them there, and when they left them a parting gift for a playoff seeding. So I kind of knew that one was going to last too long. Good players over there, and then of course the players that got traded from Phoenix that went there. I mean, they're decent players. I don't know if they're going to be able to, make a huge playoff run next year with the players they got. I think they're just kind of rebuilding now.
They're in the rebuilding stage. You're right. Once Durant and Irving set sail, you put it very well worded. It was a nice little, hey, here's a little something, got you in the playoffs. Nice little parting gift. What you do with it now is on you. But they're definitely in the rebuilding stage now.
Yeah, they're like Utah now. Utah almost made the playoffs based on that, but Danny Ainge nipped that in the bud quick. Remember, Utah had the number one record for the one point during the NBA season, based off all these cast-offs and rookies and stuff like that. And then he like, we trying to get that number one seed in the draft. So he traded those people. They said, y'all making us win. What are you doing, coach? It's not what I paid you for. That was not a very interesting series. I kind of figured Philly was. In fact, Embiid was out one of those games. I think hurt before they finally put him out. Game 4, he was out. Again. I was like, dang, he's hurt already, and he's very relatable to somebody else in the West. We're going to talk about that Stephen A. has an issue with. So okay, that was good. Cleveland, New York. I kind of figured Cleveland was going to win this, but I thought it was going to be a 7-game series. Did not think it was going to end that abruptly and that quickly, but they surprised me. Cleveland lost to New York in 5 games. 5 games.
I didn't see that one coming either. I didn't think New York would win the series. I didn't. I was happy with New York just being in the playoffs. As a basketball fan, again, this misery that New York has been going through since late 90s, early 2000s, I was just happy they were in the playoffs. And to be now in the second round, they ain't going more than that, but to be now in the second round, that's good.
Jalen Brunson.
What's that?
Jalen Brunson. Dallas should never let him go.
Dallas Mavericks is another conversation. But unfortunately, this is for playoffs teams, and that sums up the conversation right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's between why the Mavericks didn't go to the playoffs and why the Knicks are in it right now, going to the second round.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought Cleveland would win it.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell. Cleveland is one of those. Cleveland is one of those cities that's rich in history in all sports, but synonymous with losing. Just Browns have history, Cavaliers have history, but lose. I mean, LeBron did get them that one chip, so that helps.
Right.
But
Jim Brown.
Jim
with the
Brown.
Browns.
Jim Brown. Had Baker Mayfield, but
Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
he was there.
And what was the guy? What was the guy before Baker Mayfield, the quarterback?
Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel. He can't even get on the XFL league yet.
He's not. I thought he was playing.
Was he? Okay, maybe I'm wrong then.
No, maybe I am. I
joke.
thought he was playing some. I thought he was in some football league at some point. Maybe the Rock could give him a shot.
And bring some entertainment to the league. But nah, I was with you, man. I thought Donovan Mitchell was going to be a good enough player and maybe return to that 1 year that he had in the bubble where he was going off 40, 50 points. Him and Jamal Murray, the Denver Nuggets, had a battle for the ages, back and forth, bunch of games. I think they might have set a record for how many 40-point or 50-point games there were between two teams for players. I thought maybe he was going to come back to that, being with a new team, new city. He was out of Utah now, but he was disappointing. Very disappointing.
Very, very disappointing. I don't think they're a bad team. I just think they got some work to do. I think he has to get more familiar with the Cleveland Cavaliers organization. I do feel as if their time has not yet come. But with that squad, they will have their time.
Right. Maybe they're just too young. I don't know. I mean, Tom Thibodeau is a herald coach, so maybe he just got the Cavaliers just got out coached.
Yeah, and that happens. But I do feel like they got the key ingredients to do something good. I wouldn't make too many adjustments. They can work with what they got.
Right. Okay. And Derrick Rose too. He got some playing time in one of those games. Is he retiring? I thought I heard this was his last year this year too.
I heard it too. Didn't he just get married? His heyday was the Bulls year. So I mean, if he does retire, I can see why.
That's good though. One aspect, he had several bad years where he stayed hurt and couldn't even get on the court. As soon as he got on the court, he turned to Anthony Davis. And then after a while, he played a good amount of games. Of course, he never returned to his MVP status, but he was able to stay on the court. Now he's kind of seemed to have maybe shed that image that he had, that reputation he had, that, he couldn't play anymore because injury is going to rob him of his minutes and his days. And he's kind of gone away from that now. We will always remember that middle part of his career. But I'm glad that he's played a little long enough that image has kind of gone away now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he'll never be, I don't think, a Hall of Famer. I don't think, even though he's the youngest MVP of all time, but I don't think he's done enough to earn Hall of Fame status, even though it's hella easy to get in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
It's like the WWE Hall of Fame, huh?
Yeah,
which one is easier?
Oh, WWE by far. All you gotta do is clip Vince McMahon's toenails and you're getting in the Hall of Fame. Not hard.
Vince McMahon's a bagel boy. You're in the Hall of Fame, kid.
Give him 20 minutes for a speech. I did it 10 straight years. I used to put butter on it. Kept it warm. What more can I say? Vince couldn't have lived and worked without me. So he come out on WrestleMania with the rest of the people.
The rest of them holding a bagel.
He have his own theme music. Like, come on, man.
Oh man, but yeah, that is true. That WWE Hall of Fame is becoming a joke. I pray to God Triple H does something to make it more.
What, a building? That would help.
A building,
would help.
make it more noteworthy. I mean, they're running out of people to put in it.
Yeah. That's why they're running out, because they're putting so many regular people in there.
Yeah.
Like, Snoop is nice and all, but the Hall of Fame nice?
Like, you can tell they're saving.
Jim White?
You can tell they're saving the names of The Rock, the Jerichos, Triple H. Triple H is in it, but not as an individual. He's in it as part of DX. So you can tell they're saving that for as long as they can to
They probably
add
did
big
that so
names.
they have somebody later on.
Like Ric Flair, he's in it like 3 times.
Okay, let's see. All right, we're gonna move to the Western Conference now. All right, first one, number 1 and number 8 seed, the Nuggets and Minnesota. They that was a decent series. I think that one went 4-1. I am going to say I'm very encouraged by seeing this because if Minnesota was able to carry them to 6 or 7 games, I would say Denver is not built to go to the finals again this year. And I would say I won't blame Denver really for the other years because Nikola Jokic, matter of fact, Nikola Jokic, he's about to be, is he a 3-time MVP now? They haven't said MVP yet this year, but is he a 3-time MVP?
I want to say 3, yes.
Okay, so he would join the likes of, I don't know, Larry Bird, I know won 3 times. And I think maybe one other person won it 3 times in a row, that is.
Their game 1 is today.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
Okay. Suns and Nuggets.
Oh, nice. And well, we're gonna get to that in just a second. I didn't have much faith in him because all those years before, Jokic didn't have help. He didn't have enough help. He had people he pushed along with him. Basically, to me, he was kind of like LeBron his early years in Cleveland. Like he's great talent. Yes, LeBron got to the finals that one time with the least amount of talent, but LeBron was also in the Eastern Conference at that time too. So the Eastern Conference was not that good at that time. So, and it showed when he got there, played the Spurs, and the Spurs swept him easily, handily. And Denver was in the tougher conference in the Western Conference, and he wasn't able to get them past. I think the Western Conference's finals was the furthest he was able to carry him. But Jamal Murray is back. When Jamal Murray had that good game, a couple good games in the first round, I was like, he's got his number 2. And his number 2 at some point, kind of like Jimmy, if he's anything like he was in the Butler, can turn to a number 1.
Yeah.
So they can't key on Jokic the whole time. So now they could possibly be a finals team. And now, as you just mentioned, they're going to play the Phoenix Suns.
In game 1, a couple hours. And I'm excited about that. I like the Nuggets. I really like the Nuggets. And like you said, with the addition of Jamal Murray, they're one of my dark horse picks for the finals, in all honesty. I like them very much. I think that 1-2 combo of Nikola and Jamal Murray can get the job done. Now, like I said, in a couple more hours, it's the Suns. We know what lies ahead. That's gonna be a good series, and I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to watch it. But I do feel like, I'm not shocked. 4-1 is what I predicted with that one. I was being generous with the 1, but I was being generous with the 1. Like I said, with the Suns and the Nuggets, I'm excited. I don't know who. I can't pick. If I had to pick, I know we're not there yet, but geez, that's gonna be a tough one. But I do think the Nuggets can make a good, decent run. This is gonna be a good series, and I definitely say this series is going 7.
Okay, so who you're not gonna pick who's gonna win? I'm gonna make a prediction, but you go ahead.
I'm gonna make one. Nuggets. I'm gonna make it 7 Nuggets.
All right, you said Nuggets in 7. All right, mine's gonna be a little bit different from you. Not a whole lot different, but based off on that series, with the Phoenix Suns. I saw with the Clippers. You know, we'll get through the whole series in a minute, but based on that series where they struggled to beat the Clippers without Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, and had Westbrook, and I'm sorry, Westbrook was playing, and I get it that Westbrook had some good games, but he was in all, he still was Westbrook. You know, he still was a turnover machine or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes teams go as Westbrook goes, as evidenced by the Lakers, how they turned their season around when Westbrook left. I am not encouraged by the Phoenix Suns. I'm not. I think the Suns picked off the meat of the flesh of a dead carcass, which was the Clippers, and they did what they were supposed to do. It shouldn't have got to 6 games. It should have been a sweep, I think, if anything. Maybe 5 games, but it should have been a sweep. It almost went to 7. I mean, Westbrook tried as he may. He had a horrible game. 6. I think he shot 3 of 19. Just like he did in the first game. I think he shot 3 of 20. Yeah. And the Clippers won despite him because Kawhi helped them win that game. I am not encouraged. And based off of that, and because Phoenix doesn't have a bench like that, they traded away most of their bench. So they're going to have to rely on Durant, who is injury prone. They're going to have to rely on Chris Paul, who is injury prone. They're going to have to rely on DeAndre Ayton, whose motor is there one game and gone the other. He's kind of like a poor man's Anthony Davis. Maybe a real poor man Anthony Davis. Davis plays good 1 minute and he's gone the next. Booker is like the only one I see is kind of reliable. You know, Durant, as great as he is, he may be the greatest player in today's game, but you never know if he's going to be hurt 1 minute or not. I don't think they have enough firepower to beat the Nuggets. Nuggets are good from the starting lineup to the bench. And I do think this series, I think Denver is going to win in 6 games.
6, okay.
Yes.
I said 7 because of, despite the injuries, we got Chris Paul, we got Kevin Durant, and Booker. I think those 3 can at least push it to 7. Now, once we hit the 7, yeah, I foresee Chris Paul being injured or tired. You know, he got some age on him already. I foresee I foresee Durant possibly being getting injured at some point in this series, and that's where the Nuggets are going to win it. But I will give it 7.
Yeah,
and I'm probably the most excited about this series.
Yeah, I'm scared of it. Might not even be as good as we're trying to expect it to be. Because if Chris Paul does anything like he did versus the Mavericks, where he just completely aged 100 years between 1 and 2 games, they got to have Chris Paul. They got to have Chris Paul playing at least at a Jason Kidd when they won the championship with the Mavericks level. If he doesn't do that, 6 games. That's why I don't think he'll go 7. I think he'll wear out.
I do think he's going to wear out, but I think he's going to wear out in Game 7. I think right when Game 7 hits is when he's done.
Right. Okay, so you said 7. Me, I'm going Denver in 6. All right. Let's keep up with that. All right. Let's see. So what's next? What we got next? Let's see. So, here we go. Memphis and the Lakers, 2 and 7 seed. Lakers were the 7th seed. Memphis was the 2nd seed. They ain't worried about nobody out west. They good. You know, Yosemite Morant came in there with guns a-blazing, and then we're talking about figuratively anyway, not literally. Game 1, he got hurt.
Blazing something now.
Yeah, he might be blazing something now. Hopefully it's of the green kind and not pistol kind. But he got hurt the first game, and I wasn't too worried because I've seen Memphis play great without Ja Morant. For some reason, they played maybe it's good coaching, but they play pretty good when Morant's not there because he's often injured too during the regular season. And yeah, Lakers beat them, stole home court. Game 2, they beat the Lakers pretty handily in Memphis. I'm like, all right, Memphis is fine.
I was
Not
optimistic at that point.
yeah. I'm like, they're going back to LA. I hear Morant's coming back. He did come back. And the game was sort of close. Well, no, not at the beginning. It was kind of a blowout. And then Memphis brought it back behind Morant. I think he scored like 22 points in the fourth quarter. And in the loss, I was encouraged. I was like, okay, they figured something out. They got something here. But what happened? Dylan Brooks happened. He had to poke the bear.
Oh boy. So
this man wants to be Draymond, Dennis Rodman so bad.
He does. He does. He wants to be the bad boy.
Yeah.
Far as this series with the Lakers and the Grizzlies, I was really optimistic that I thought Grizzlies would win it. I thought they would win it in 6.
I think I said 5.
Because if you look at the Lakers regular season, it was just, it was not good. I mean, the highlight of the season was LeBron, getting the scoring title.
Right.
But I just thought, they squeaked in the playoffs. And I was just like, Grizzlies are going to take this. Here's where I think the Grizzlies potentially lost it. And it lies within Ja Morant. I think Ja Morant had an individual focus in this series as opposed to a team focus. I think he wanted the highlight. I think he wanted the dunk on LeBron. He wanted the poster dunk on LeBron in the playoffs. And he tried his damnedest to get that. I could tell while watching it. He wanted a signature dunk in the playoffs that will go down in ages. I can tell he did. It just the way he was playing prior to his hand injury, it just looked like that's all he wanted. Now he comes back from the hand injury. He's not so keen on getting that dunk because now he knows his hand it was still injured. He came back, but it was still injured. So he couldn't go guns a-blazing like he wanted to do. But
and what you were just saying about him trying to dunk, that's another reckless player like Embiid that throws his body around on a hardwood floor, and that's why they're probably often injured. Morant always is trying to dunk on somebody. And I don't mean like a soft dunk. I mean, he's just trying to murder somebody every time he goes to the rim. And sometimes he hit it. There's a lot of times where he ends up tumbling to the ground. And Embiid, although he has meat on his bones, he's 300 plus pounds. Ja Morant's probably 180 pounds soaking wet, if that. He has no meat on his bones. So all he's landing on is bone on hardwood.
Yeah. And that's the case. And that's I really do believe if he wasn't so hell bent on trying to get a highlight, they are playing tomorrow night. I really do believe that. I really do believe that. If he wasn't so hell bent on trying to get a highlight, they are at least playing tomorrow night in a game 7. But then, like you said, there's Dylan Brooks. And as much as people want to, I don't know, talk about LeBron, how LeBron isn't the Kobe or the Jordans of the world, and I agree with that. I have never once said LeBron's not good. I have never once said LeBron cannot play the game of basketball because he can, and he is one of the greatest ever to play. And Dylan Brooks, like you said, he poked the bear and he woke him up. And he may not be your Kobe or your Jordan, but he was enough to be woken up in this series. And LeBron James is the reason the Lakers are in round 2. Simple as that. It is. Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis, jury's still out. Jury is still out. It was an and one that LeBron did. It was nice.
Overtime.
In overtime. It was beautiful. It was nice. It was great. And when I was watching that, I said, I've never called him the GOAT, but I've always called him a great player. And the reason they are in round 2 and they beat the Grizzlies is because of LeBron James. Simple as that.
Not Scottie Pippen Jr. I mean, he has some help too now. D'Angelo Russell.
Oh, yes.
Huge part in that.
And the white boy. I forget his name. What's the white dude name? Because he was hitting some threes. I forget his Reeves, yes. He was coming up big too. But it's almost like the team rallied behind the confrontation between Brooks and LeBron. And clearly they know LeBron. They know LeBron's the leader of the team. Like, we're not gonna let you do that to our leader. So, you're gonna do this to our leader. We're about to spank you, and they did.
Yeah,
that was the worst thing the Grizzlies could have done. Tell you the truth.
Idiotic. That was so stupid. that was so stupid. Yeah. Like, I don't respect you unless you put 40 on me.
It sound like you remember when Westbrook was like, "You better guard me," and they were losing like 20. They were down by like.
Who was it? The Lakers? Who was Westbrook?
It was they were playing the Lakers.
Houston. He was on Houston.
He was Houston, and they were playing the Lakers because he said it to LeBron.
He's like, "You're losing by 20. What do you mean better guard me for what? You can't shoot."
Yeah, I remember that.
It was like I don't know. It was Patrick Beverly. It was somebody that was losing pretty bad. And they did the whole, you're too small gesture. I'm like, but
yeah. It was Patrick Beverly. He did it to LeBron. So, like, that's the case. Like, the Memphis lost that with that confrontation between Brooks and LeBron and Ja Morant trying to just get a highlight. I believe those two combination of the sequences of those two is the reason they're not playing.
Well, I'll add two more things. I think back to Ja Morant, what he had going on in the regular season, I do think affected what happened in the playoffs. I think it did disrupt the team because people were more focused on what he was doing off the court than what he was doing on the court. And I think it maybe even affected Ja Morant too. He may not say it, but I think that affected him too. So it messed up the whole culture, the together culture that they probably did have. And then Steven Adams being hurt a lot. They had no big man that could handle Anthony Davis. They got out-rebounded pretty bad. The Lakers out-rebounded the Grizzlies pretty bad. So
second chance points, man. Yeah. The Lakers got so many second chance points, like it was bad to the point where you're not winning if you give them second chance points. Eventually, somebody gonna hit it. LeBron, Reeves, even Anthony Davis can put it back up. Somebody was gonna hit it.
and Morant had a atrocious game, the last one. I think he was like 3 of 15 or something like that.
Yeah, he had like 10 points last night, I believe.
Yeah, he had 10 points. Yeah, had a bad game.
Yeah,
wrong time to have a bad game. I had a pretty good game 5, the whole team. I said, if they can win game 6, it's up in the air. Because LeBron, he had a bad game in game 5. I think he was just tired because the game before that, they went to overtime. He was huffing and puffing in that overtime game. And towards the end of the fourth quarter, I was like, dang, he's tired. That's the time for them to attack. They let that game slip by. When they lost that game to me, I felt like the Grizzlies weren't going to win the series. Because they put their all into that. And they had LeBron down. Anthony Davis had a pretty bad game too, even though he had key free throws and a couple blocks towards the end of the game. They were tired. The game was there for the taking. And I said, they won this game. I don't think they're going to have the heart to win the rest of the series. Even in game 7, I'm not even sure. They did win game 5, but I think that's because LeBron was just tired. I think LeBron mailed it in. He's like, you know what, fuck, I'm not going to put my whole self out in this game. I'm going to save myself for game 6.
Yeah.
And we'll be fine. Yeah. And they beat him by 40 last night. LeBron didn't give him 40. He didn't give Dylan Brooks 40, but he gave the whole team 40.
I stopped watching the game last night, man.
Was embarrassed.
The commentary, I believe, I forget who was doing commentary. I want to say Chris Webber, maybe, I'm not sure, but they were like, it got bad. You know, the game is boring when the commentators don't even talk about the game anymore. They just start having little side conversations, and the game is secondary, and that's what happened last night. It's like
you and your wife had for dinner last night. Huh? Did y'all have that whole bottle of Merlot like you planned to? How's the kids doing?
It was bad. I'm like, man, I started looking for something on Netflix to watch. I was like, I can't watch this anymore, man. LeBron was out. LeBron said he was watching his son play. Did you hear that?
Nah.
At some point in the game, maybe before, after, or during, his son had a big game, and he said he was watching his son play, I guess, on a tablet or something.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, that's the end of that series. So, let's see who else we had on the docket. See, we talked about the Suns, Clippers, Lakers, Grizzlies. Did we talk about Lakers, Grizzlies? Oh, Kings and Warriors.
Kings and Warriors.
So that's a game that has not happened yet. That will happen tomorrow. So
Game 7.
Yeah. I am not surprised that this thing went 7. I thought this series was going to go 7, and it didn't surprise me at all. I thought at some point the Warriors are going to make a big road win. You know, they're terrible on the road this year, great at home. And I also thought the Kings were going to get a impactful road win as well, too. And they did. They killed the Warriors the other night. Now, I'll be honest, I thought the Warriors were going to end up closing it out at home in Game 6. So they surprised me. And then the fashion that they lost surprised me. So now that changes my emotion a little bit for who to predict for Game 7. Just a little bit. But I'm going to stick firm to it. I'm going to go Warriors in 7, even on the road in Sacramento, because of that championship medal that they're going to hold on to. They've built up and calloused for years before this. I think it's going to help them pull it out in Sacramento. Game 7, Warriors win. Close game.
Going to Sacramento. I mean, the Rock promo.
I wish I had the video up right now. Sacramento, I won't stay. Back in the fall when the Lakers beat the Kings in May.
That is classic. That is classic. And if Golden State wins, I'm reposting that. But I'm gonna go Golden State. I'm gonna go Golden State. I'm excited for the game. I can't wait to watch it. I'm gonna go Golden State. Like you said, I think they have the championship pedigree to get this done. I do see Steph Curry going off. I do. Mm-hmm. I see Steph Curry having a big game. I see Steph Curry putting up some big numbers in this game. Draymond Green is going to be impactful. Maybe not a lot of points, but he's definitely going to leave his mark on the game. I do believe that. And although it's in Sacramento, and I know they got Sacramento got the home crowd, but I mean, let's be Sacramento, Golden State. They ain't that far. There's gonna be Golden State fans there. There's gonna be Golden State fans there. So it ain't like they miles down the road. They got to get on a plane and go all the way across, the country. So I do foresee there we Golden State fans there, and I think Golden State will win it. I want to say Steph Curry will have not a. You know what? I will say it. I think Steph Curry is going to have a breakout playoff type game that will be remembered. That will be remembered as to them winning this in Game 7. I wouldn't even be surprised if it goes overtime. But I still see Golden State winning the game. Could be barely, but they'll win it.
I'm gonna have to say the exact opposite, based off of history. Not for a game seven, because Steph Curry has not shown me anything in a game seven thus far in his career.
And
That
that's
makes
why
me,
I did say it.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I think he may. I think he'll have a decent game. I don't think he's gonna have a breakout game the way he's had so far this series. I think he may score, let's say, 25 points, and he'll be somewhat efficient. I think it's going to come down to a lot of the other players stepping up. It's going to come down to Clay, Draymond, who had an excellent game five, and some of the other Andrew Wiggins. It's going to come down to all of them having a concerted effort to making them win. Steph Curry he never shows me nothing. If he does, it's going to be in the first half or the third quarter. That's when they usually make a lot of their runs. But I don't see it. I don't see him having a 35-point game or anything. That it may surprise me, but based off his history, if I was a betting man, I would say nah.
See, I would like to believe he's aware of this narrative, and no one wants to get to a game seven because that means you just can't. You can't put this team away. So you got one game to do it. But I believe he's aware of that narrative, and I would like to believe he's like, this is my stage, and I'm gonna prove in a game seven I can be the man, and I can have this breakout game that put to bed this Steph Curry can't have this breakout game in a game seven narrative away. He's trying to put that narrative away. Again, I think they'll win. It could be barely, but I do foresee him. I'm gonna say 45 from Steph.
45.
I'm gonna give him 45.
Has he ever scored 40 in a playoff game?
No, but I'm gonna give him 4. I'm gonna give him 4. I feel it in my bones. Like maybe Aisha done cooked him up something. She's a chef. Maybe she done cooked him up a good dinner or something. She owns a couple of restaurants. Maybe she done something. I just feel like Steph Curry. Maybe he's hanging out with his daddy. He got some time on his hands now.
Him and Dale having a shootout.
Maybe Seth Curry came over.
Seth Curry.
He got time.
Whose team was he on last? I'm still thinking he's with the Sixers. Whose team was he on?
I do not know. I can't remember.
I thought he was with the Sixers last, or maybe he left. Hold on, let me look just to make sure. Seth Curry. Oh, Dallas. I think that's who he was with last.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds familiar now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Nope. He was with Brooklyn last.
I thought it was Dallas, man.
Maybe that. I don't know. Maybe, he might have went with that trade with Kyrie Irving.
Probably, but
yeah, he was with Brooklyn last.
I do feel like Steph Curry gonna give me a show. The little shimmy. You do his little shimmy. You gonna see a shimmy. You gonna see a shimmy or two.
Chris Paul won't get one.
I do miss their rivalry.
If they make it to the Western Conference Finals, which is kind of a shame because
they not. They ain't getting past Denver.
Yeah, Phoenix. Yeah, of course. But I'm saying it's kind of a shame that the best matchup, probably the playoffs, is going to be Phoenix and Denver, or the most anticipated one, maybe.
It's the one I'm the most excited about as of right now. Yes, probably, like you said, the most anticipated one, even past this round.
Praying no one gets hurt. That's the main thing. It's like these matchups keep coming about, but people keep getting hurt, and it messes everything else. Quite like the next one and the last one we're about to talk about. Phoenix and the Clippers. We'll go into more detail about it. Every year, we we start off, we talk about the Clippers, and we talk about their roster, and we look at the roster. I'm like, man, if they can just stay together and stay healthy, this team has a real chance to win it all. It's always if, every year. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. It can never stay healthy a full year. A full year. If Kawhi's there, Paul's hurt. If Paul's there, Kawhi's hurt. And for whatever reason, you can always tell when Paul George gets hurt. When he get, you could tell when he got hurt during the regular season. He was grimacing in pain, rolled up on the floor. I think he had to be carried off the floor. When Kawhi Leonard gets hurt, you never can tell. It's just, he is somewhat like a robot, like a wore down robot, but he's a robot because you never can tell. When he had 42, I think in the first game, great game. I think he had 30 something, 32 in the second game. He looked great. You couldn't tell nothing was wrong. I was like, wow. Wait till Phoenix gets back to LA. News the next day, Kawhi has a knee sprain. I'm like, when did that happen? He was looking great in the game. He was looking like, all right, he's back. 100%. And then next thing I know, this is what happens every year. It's like, yeah, Kawhi's not going to be available for game 3. Okay. No one's giving an indication that he's, just doubtful or he's probable for the game. He's just not going to be available. Game 4, Kawhi's not going to be available for game 4. And then at that point, I'm rolling my eyes. I'm like, he's not going to be available for game 5. Comes the news, Kawhi's not going to be available for game 5. Should have known. Just say he's not going to be back for the playoffs.
That's basically what it is. The Clippers, this goes their history of just bad luck in the playoffs goes back far beyond Kawhi, Paul George. I mean, remember when Chris Paul, when he was on the Clippers, injured. There's always something that stops them from getting there. And then if you want to go back to the 90s Clippers, they ain't even smell the playoffs, so you can't even talk about that.
Come on, but you got that 1 year.
Michael Candy,
Danny Manning.
But yeah,
he had a horrible injury history too, and he came back, I think, from an ACL tear, and I think he made the playoffs. He made an All-Star team one time with the Clippers, and then he made the playoffs, I think, one time with them, and that might have been about it. Mark Jackson was there. It may have been that year he was at the Clippers that they made the playoffs.
Sam Cassell, he was there. He was there a couple years too, but Kawhi Leonard. Let me go there. Jesus Christ.
The Stephen A. voice.
I mean, this goes back to San Antonio. You remember? He was injured in San Antonio. I forget what series it was. It was against the Heat. It was against the Heat.
Oh, okay.
It was against the Heat. It was against the Heat. I remember that.
He got hurt versus the Warriors.
Yeah, I do remember that too.
Stepped on one of the Warriors. I forget his name, but he stepped on the dude's ankles because he was right under him when he was shooting it. Yeah. And that's where that rule came in, where you couldn't be under someone when they made a jump shot.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got a tech or maybe even a flagrant for that now.
But the Clippers are, I don't know what can be done to get them over the hump. I mean, they're kind of like the Rockets, kind of like the Rockets. The Rockets they suffer the same fate, T-Mac tried back in the day, James Harden tried, and he's still trying with the Sixers, and it's going to be a no again. But
right.
They run parallel with the Rockets and the Clippers. They run very parallel as far as their playoff luck or unluck. They're unlucky, rather. It's just that they the playoff guys aren't on their side. The basketball guys are not on their sides when it comes to the playoffs, and you know, that's a lot. That's what can be said about the Clippers as far as them all the time in the playoffs. There's something's gonna happen. Their main player is gonna get injured. Chris Paul, Kawhi, Paul George, and that's gonna be their fate. That's gonna seal their fate. You know.
I don't know. Is it coincidence and all? I mean, because Paul George had an injury history with the Pacers. Chris Paul had an injury history with the Hornets. Kawhi had an injury history with the Spurs and the Raptors. He had to load manage when he was with Toronto, even though they won a championship this year. That is, I would say, is kudos to the great coaching of Nick Nurse, who was fired this year, by the way, after his Raptors weren't able to get into the playoffs during the play-in. And that wasn't that long ago that they won a championship. So, dang, it's a tough business. But this is Kawhi has been injury prone, and from everything I'm hearing, is his knees are gone. That his knees might be bone to bone now, you know. And I've heard that I think he had a MCL sprain. I think this is what I'm hearing correctly. I might be. I think that's what it is. He had an MCL sprain. This is like rumors. Nobody's come out on the Clippers and said it out loud in the public, but that's what I'm hearing.
Oh,
and he doesn't play no more than 50 some odd games. I mean, that may be 2/3 of the season. And Stephen A, if you've heard it, he was pissed and saying, I don't know, I want to hear your opinion on this.
So I did not hear Stephen A's rant. So go ahead and tell me.
Okay, well, Stephen A said, let's see if I do my statement. Like, I love Kawhi Leonard. You know, we're dear friends. And he's been in the league. I know his family. And condolences out to his sister, who was just sent to prison for a horrible case. But Kawhi Leonard has to be the worst superstar in the NBA I have ever seen. I mean, he's never available. He never plays. Every year it's like this. And it's kind of correct, but basically that's what he said. He said he's never available. He doesn't promote the game properly for his team. And you can't depend on him because it's the same thing every year. He load manages most of the year. And then when the playoffs come, he's hurt. And it's like, so what was the point of the load management in the first place? And then he went off saying, yeah, I know some people that saying his knees are pretty much gone. That he can't come back, or he'll never have another healthy season. Him as the star, he said he is the worst superstar that he's ever seen. He's the worst superstar ever because he's never available. And yeah, what do you think about that? Would you put Kawhi ever the worst superstar ever? I guess based on his talents, what he can actually bring to a team, but his inability to be on the floor, would you call him the worst superstar ever?
So he did use the term superstar.
Superstar, yeah. Not just player, superstar.
So he's breaking the Kawhi up into an elite type caliber player using the term superstar. He's up there with your Kobe's, your Durant's, Jordans, and all that. So I'm gonna answer the question about how did Stephen A feel about Kyrie, because Kyrie's a superstar who is always unavailable, but for different reasons.
He mentioned him. He did mention him. So that's a good point. He pretty much said, yeah, I know people want to talk about Kyrie Irving, and we have our own tumultuous relationship. But he said, but at least Kyrie shows up in the playoffs. At least Kyrie had a game-winning shot in the playoffs. He may not show up in the regular season. He may come out of the game for random reasons. You know, he's sick, some social justice issues, his sister's birthday. But at least when it's playoff time, he shows up. That was pretty much his explanation.
I mean, I hear him on that, but you got to get to the playoffs to show up. And
Yeah.
um,
And technically, Kawhi does have more championships than Kyrie.
that too.
Like 3-1.
And let's not forget when he was in Toronto, that game winning shot in the corner. That was probably one of the when
76ers he hit on.
it bounced and then he held the pose. That series was all Kawhi. Well, no, he had a old boy helped him too. I forget his name. I think it's Buddy something. I can't remember his last name. What's that?
On what team?
Toronto that year.
Fred Van Fleet.
It's Van Fleet. Van Fleet. But going back to Stephen A's, to answer Stephen A's question, well, your question from Stephen A, is he the worst superstar?
Mm-hmm.
No. And I can think of one who was a superstar, who was injury prone and didn't do as much as Kawhi. He got a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Grant Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Grant Hill was a superstar coming out of Duke. Grant Hill was supposed to be the man. Went to the Pistons, injury prone. Got on the Magic, injury prone. I love T-Mac. One of my favorite players is Tracy McGrady. Tracy McGrady ain't got no ring.
Would you put him over Kawhi Leonard though?
As far as
skills wise and superstar status, would you put him over him?
T-Mac over Kawhi Leonard?
Yeah, or Grant Hill.
I would put
because even when Grant Hill declined at some point due to his injuries, and he still couldn't show the same skills he had early in his career. At some point, he was like maybe a sixth man, or he was fifth on the starting lineup. Kawhi's steadily stayed great when he does play great. Tracy McGrady, I guess he steadily declined, but I think he was still pretty good. I don't know if he was ever the same as he was in his early years due to all the injuries. Kawhi has always shown these skills. Actually, he's gotten better since he was with the Spurs early on with the Spurs. He went from being not a six man, but not the main threat on the offense. And then he became that, and he stayed that way since he left the Spurs until now with the Clippers. And they're depending on him. Because I can't remember last time Tracy McGrady's been the one they depended on in the playoffs. The majority of maybe not majority of the career, but the later part of the career. And Grant Hill, once he went to Orlando, that was it. As far as him being the dependent one.
I would say the argument for Grant Hill is probably lesser, but the comparison for Kawhi and T-Mac is, to me, it's parallel, because T-Mac was depended on in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
They got to the playoffs, couldn't get past first round. T-Mac was the Houston Rockets. They needed him to show up, have a game, and be T-Mac. So I would definitely say T-Mac, just like you said, got better. Toronto, when he was with Toronto and Vince Carter, T-Mac got better, just like Kawhi got better. But injuries plagued them both. The difference between your T-Mac and your Kawhi, if you ask me, skill set is there. They both got better. Kawhi has a ring and has been out of obviously he's been out of the first round because he got a ring. The Rockets needed T-Mac at his height when he was the T-Mac that I love, and he's the best T-Mac that we've seen. And when he was Jeff Van Gundy was the coach. So T-Mac couldn't get him out the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a role-playing issue surrounding it, but if we're just primarily focusing on I'm comparing the two because to me, their careers run parallel. The difference is the championship and Kawhi's ability to get out of the first round. Both plagued by injuries, both very skilled players. One can get out the first round and one has a championship. And now when T-Mac was on the I believe it was the the Spurs at one point when he was just like a role player, we have yet to see that side of Kawhi, but it's coming. That era in Kawhi's career has not yet happened, but it's coming. He's going to be that player on the bench as a role player because of his injuries. But the difference again will be he already has a ring.
3 rings on top of that.
Yeah. So to answer Stephen A's question, I can't believe I'm making an argument against T-Mac because he's one of my favorite players. The worst superstar, I would have to say, would be one. If I'm comparing the two, it would be T-Mac because T-Mac was a superstar, no ring. Kawhi is a superstar, a ring, both plagued by injuries.
Okay. It's a fair argument. I'm gonna still say Kawhi. I'm gonna say because of this. I can't think of this many moments where Kawhi's team has been favored in the playoffs if he was healthy. Trace McGrady. I don't really remember if he had a lot of teams that were favored to win the series, but Kawhi has had so many moments where, man, if he just keeps playing, this team could win. Just like this year. Man, if Kawhi plays Game 3 and Game 4 in LA, they're going to put the Suns out, and it's going to be an upset. Or years past where he's been in LA, and the team wins a pivotal game without him. I'm like, man, if Kawhi just comes back, because it looks like a little injury. Now, I don't want to minimize his injury, but it looks like if he can come back the next game, or if they can extend it and give him another week of rest, this team can win. And we're just salivating like, hey, what's the training report? Is he coming back the next game? And then we find out he's not going to come back. And then we find out he's not going to come back again. And then we just roll our eyes again. I'm like, he's not coming back this series. And then what we end up finding is his injury was so bad, he wouldn't even came back the next series if they advanced past that. It seems like year after year, that's the story, is team is very good, that there's a chance that they could actually go to the finals if he just comes back. Or if he continues to play in the series and then he gets hurt. Yeah, and I think maybe Stephen A was trying to say this at one point, is that we never can tell when he's hurt. Because he keeps playing and you never see him walk awkwardly or jog awkwardly or nothing on the court. Like, he looks fine. And then that's when we were like, oh, wow, we can't wait till the next game. I think that's where the blow hits harder. It was like, we didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And then the next morning it was like, well, he's not going to play probably for the rest of the series unless it goes to the second round or third round. He's probably out. I think that's probably what hurts more, hearing him hurt. I think there's just been more moments with Kawhi versus Tracy McGrady where it's like, oh, this team is favored to win, or this team could definitely beat this team if he comes back. And I'm not sure Tracy McGrady was load managing in his day like Kawhi is, which is another thing I think what Stephen A would say is like, this dude, he load manages the entire season, so you should be ready. I think Tracy might have been playing through injuries that caused him to be injury prone in the playoffs.
That's true.
I think that's the difference. I think he's trying to say. It's like, what are you resting for? What's the point of load managing if you're still not going to make the playoffs, or you're still going to get hurt in the playoffs?
Well, that's true. That's very true. And like, no, this load managing, that's like a new thing, if you ask me. Like 90s and 2000s early basketball, they played. I'm injured. It had to be a major injury for someone to be out and not play, especially a star. They weren't going to rest for the playoffs. AI took a beating in Philly. Jordan took a beating against the Pistons in the 80s. Yeah. Kobe, I saw Kobe pop his finger into place and shoulder, went out, shoot a free throw, went out and shot 2 clutch free throws, and then walked off the court. So that's an era. I think that's an era thing as well, though.
Right. I think there's also a thing too is with all this load managing. People saying these athletes are like super athletes now, yet they're so injury prone, and they're using this load management. It doesn't seem to be working. Seems like everyone's getting injured in these playoffs, which is ruining a lot of these series. And what I was mentioning earlier, trying to compare the NFL and NBA, there's a lot of contact injuries in the NFL now, more than there ever was, because they don't take hits in practice now. They try to save it for the game. So a lot of these contact hits, flesh hits that they're taking now are now turning the contusions that are keeping them out of games that it normally wouldn't do. It's like there's a point where you have to get calloused up.
Yeah,
getting hit, so you're tougher to take them, and they don't bother you as much. And in the NBA, if you don't practice, getting hit when you go to the lane or whatever, or practicing falls like Embiid over and over again, you don't get calloused up. So when you finally do get off load management and you take these hits, they hurt worse. Go ask any football player, not in the NFL, any football player, when they first start getting hit, those first hits hurt. And then after a while, not that they don't get injured, but they get tough to it. And same thing with playing sports. When you get back on the court, not even just getting hit, running, doing cardio, getting back from an injury, you're going to feel horrible at first until you get some practice in and you take those hits. Yeah. And I think that's what's happened to a lot of players. They're soft. I don't mean like soft mentally. I think soft physically, because they're not calloused up to the type of punishment that they're going to take during an 82-game season. And it shows later in the season. It shows in the playoffs. Kawhi, I'm not saying that's what his problem is. Maybe his knees are gone. But I do think, by and large, this is a problem with a lot of players, is they don't get the contact that they should get to toughen them up to make it. Because, the NBA, it's a marathon. It's not something you do in 10 games. It's not something like the NFL, which I'm not, shitting on the NFL. I know they only got 17 games. They play hard, so they got to only have 17 games. So it's different. But it's an 82-game season. It's a marathon, and you got to get your body ready for it. You don't get yourself ready for a race marathon, like a real marathon, by doing sprints all the time. You got to run a long time to get yourself up to a marathon.
Yeah, that's why in the NFL, me being, can see the star, I'm a Cowboy fan, whenever they win, I believe it was 2016 when Dallas, had the best record in the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
So when you win the conference, you get the first week bye in the wild card. I believe for certain teams that does more harm than good, especially that close to the Super Bowl. And I believe that's the case for Dallas. They need to be consistent, especially that close to the Super Bowl and in the playoffs. Because going to your point, that week of not taking a hit, when they come back the divisional round and they're ready to take a hit, and they done had a week of not taking a hit, and it plays a part. So, I think that's a very good point, to the point where you're making that it hurts when you take breaks in your profession, and that's any profession. Like when I just came back from freaking Vegas with my wife, and I went back to work, and I'm like, man, what's my password? That's the case. That's the case. You got to get back to your norm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's why they tell you, if you stop going to college, don't take too long off. You never end up going back.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the case.
It'll be harder later on. Don't wait to have kids when you're 45. It's going to be a struggle. Do it early.
Yeah, you 45 trying to raise a you 45 and your kid 10 and you 50 55. That's gonna be a tough one.
Hey, I had an uncle who did it in his 60s. So hey,
Really?
he,
Well,
yeah, he had a baby like in his 60s.
oh,
Yeah, he was
hats
still
off to him.
yeah, he was still getting in. His wife was in her 40s. So shoot, I mean, they both were up there in age, but yeah, they were getting it.
I mean, whatever works in his household, hats off to him.
His hat is definitely off. He's fanning himself every time the kid walks in. Man, I'm tired. He ain't even awake yet. I'm like, yeah, I'm just old. I'm tired. Wake up tired.
Sound like my dad. My dad used to say that.
And I gotta raise a kid now too. This is supposed to be the best years, somewhat, of my life.
Oh man, but yeah, man, these playoffs are going to be, like I said, the second round is going to be, it'll be better than the first round. Again, that
I think so.
yeah,
I
that
think so.
yeah.
Well, before we sign off, let me ask one more question
Mm-hmm.
about this Clippers series. Where do you think Westbrook would end up next year? You know, because when he was with the Lakers, he was a malcontent. He was pretty much the reason why people blame the Lakers being at the time out of the playoff standings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's soon as he left, it seems like they jumped off and they all connected again. But when he got to the Clippers, well, they started off pretty bad too because I think they lost 5 straight. And then a little something clicked. Not too much, but when the first round of playoffs came, if anybody watched it, they are the one of the only reasons why they were competitive. Of course, Kawhi when he did play, but Westbrook played his tail off, except for the last game. He had a pretty bad game the last game. The first game, he kind of had a bad game. He shot like 3 of 19, 3 of 20, but he had like several rebounds, several assists, key blocks on Devin Booker at the end of the game. So he still helped them win. So he, in a way, during those 5 games, except for the 5th one, he kind of raised his stock a little bit in my eye. Where do you think he'll end up next year? Being also too that he's probably going to want a lot of money too. You know, and is he going to be able to be on a team wanting a big contract, or is he going to have to reduce the amount of money to a couple million for a couple years, or is he out of the league?
I think the writing's on the wall with Westbrook. It's the latter, and it's going to be the last two. Either he got to come down off his price tag, or he's out of the league. Um, is he still a player whom a team can benefit from? Yes. Are they going to pay for what? Or is that team going to pay him what he thinks he's bringing and what he's worth? No. Um, and if he seems like the type of player, if he doesn't get what he wants, he just won't play anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I do, of the two, I'd see him out of the league. But I mean, it's not too far fetched that some team will pick him up because a team could use him, but he's gonna have to come off of the price tag because I mean, let's just go. It looked like it was chaos in LA. Like you said, got to the Clippers and you know he balled out. Balled out. He did good enough, rather. Um, but I believe his history is his Achilles heel now. I believe that's his downfall now. Not the fact that he's not a good player. I believe his history is just is going to hurt him at this point going forward. As far as contract negotiations, his history is going to hurt him.
Right.
And with any team, you know, as good as you are on the court and as much as you contribute on the court, you know, it's a business at the end of the day. and the business is off the court as well. So, I think Ja Morant needs to learn that quickly. But it's a business off the court as well. And, I like Westbrook. I just think he's going to have to come down off his price tag if he wants to remain in the NBA.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Westbrook he's always been, it's still Westbrook. Westbrook, I will give him that. He plays his tail off. But he's a bull in a china closet. He's very aggressive, but he's not the most highly IQ point guard out there. Yeah, I cannot disregard his effort, but his effort doesn't always lead to great plays. Often it leads to turnovers or just misplaced passes or even jump shots. He can't shoot. Today's NBA, you at least got to have a mid-range game. He doesn't even have that.
Yeah, he got to have the mid-range. He doesn't have that. At least it's not consistent enough to say that he has it. He plays point guard like a running back. Just he's running. He's just like he reminds me of any running back running a football, but he's just dribbling a basketball
right
from goal post to goal post, and he's just full steam. I'm going. And that works sometimes, but it definitely won't work all the time. And but that's his style. And I don't think he can tailor his style for any specific team. I don't think he can. I think he is who he is. And if a team signs him, they're going to have to realize, all right, he is who he is. This is what we got. Or we just don't sign him,
right,
and save some money, or get someone else who can who can be closer to what they want.
I think he'll find a team. Clippers keep saying like they want to bring him back. Steve Ballmer, billionaire, ultra billionaire, he got the money for it. Of course, there's cap space you got to worry about. But at this point, what else choice does he have? Because he's not going to be able to shed those contracts of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard quite yet. He's got to, again, hold on to the dream that they're going to stay healthy and they can possibly win a championship or even win a playoff series. And it's, I know Paul George is the one that wanted him there.
Yeah.
So I guess to make Paul George happy, he's going to keep him there. I can't see, I know Charlotte, the Hornets won them one time, and I think they ended up changing their mind on it because they probably like it was going to ruin the development of Ball. But they only wanted him though because he had 1 year left on his contract, and so he'd come here 1 year for rental, and then he's gone. So they were going to want him past that because they already got their point guard basically. Yeah. So the Clippers did not have a point guard. Tyronn Lue, it's another coach I will put up there with Spoelstra. Great coach and works with little to do a lot. He was just coaching. The only reason why those games I think were competitive without Paul George and Kawhi, he may be able to tame Westbrook a little bit, give him another year. No one has been able to do it yet, but he may be able to tame him. So I think of the only place, the best chance he has to be able to play basketball next year is in the Clippers area, which is, he's from LA. So I can't see another team taking him besides maybe a 1 year deal, almost near a veteran's minimum.
And that's what he's not. I mean, for the sake of him just wanting to play ball, he'll probably take it up for 1 year. But I think he'll get over that. I mean, he's his name. I'm pretty sure he can make money outside the NBA somehow. His name is known, so I believe it. I believe he'll get tired of these 1 year deals and the veterans minimum compared to what he's been getting. And at that point, it'll probably be a pride thing. But I honestly can't think of too many teams that would take the risk. Because it is that at this point. Like, the Clippers may stay with the risk because they already know what they're getting.
Mm.
But I can't think of any other team that will willingly go into it and like, all right, let's give it a shot.
I'll take that back. Only other team I would see to take him is somebody who is purposely trying to get the number one pick. So they're tanking, hoping Westbrook will bring them more losses, which it may actually backfire because that's when the team will actually rally behind him and win.
That's probably what will happen too. We want you to lose, boy. And then he start winning.
Or hitting 3-pointers at a 42% clip. I'm like, where was that all these other years? And
exactly. That's probably what would happen. But I honestly I don't see Westbrook in the league in another 5 years. I'm gonna put it that way. 5 years from now, I don't see him in the league.
oh no. He's I think 32. I think maybe now he's getting up there now. I definitely don't see.
And that's one fact that I did not take into account is age as well.
He is. Let me make sure. No, he's 34.
So with age, his unstableness, his history, yeah, it's either you take what we give you, or you're not in the NBA.
Right. And let's see how he takes that. Because it's an ego. He's going to end up like Allen Iverson toward the end of his career, where Allen thought he needed to be the focal point of every team. He had to be the starter of every team, MVP. But it's like you ain't got it no more, and the league is passing you by. You're gonna have to learn to take a seat off the bench. Pistons, I think, with Mybin, the Pistons. Yeah, I think that was the last team he was with, and they tried with him, but it was like it's not working. Like the way our system is set up, it's not going to work.
Yeah, at that point, Allen Iverson, he was with the Nuggets for a couple.
Yeah.
For a brief stint. At that point, he was pretty much done.
Okay. Well, that's going to wrap our show up today for the NBA playoff predictions for at least the second round, set for Golden State and the Kings.
Yep.
Still thinking, I think we both picked the Warriors to win, just in different ways.
In different fashion, yeah.
Right.
I see Steph Curry having a game. I'm hoping at least because I just feel it.
All right, let's see who's closer. I said 25 points. You said 45, right?
40. I'm gonna go 40.
Okay,
I'm gonna go 40.
Let's see who's closer in point differential tomorrow.
I'm gonna go 40. Yes, we go check that out. I'm gonna go 40 with him.
All right, then. All right, cool. So, all right, thanks everybody for joining in on the Last Rewind with me, Big Red and Tramaine. And stay tuned for more episodes coming up. See what we're going to talk about. Also, if you have any recommendations for certain subject matters, whether dealing with music, movies, or sports that you want us to talk about, let us know in the comments below. All right.
Absolutely. Let us know. Peace.
Yeah, y'all have a good night or good day, whatever it is for you.